let's let everybody have what they have to say, but let's be respectful in doing so. And everyone, you should have been notified that you will get 2 minutes each. So we will start. Some people have just put their last initials on here. I'm going to ask that everybody start by saying your name when you come up to public comment. And could we get the names up? Okay, and so what I'm going to ask is when you see your name up, if the first 5 people could get ready and line up, that will be helpful in getting everybody through. Okay, so Julia O. Is Julia here? Okay, Octavia Rainey. You still have your first place standing.
I know.
Ms. Rainey.
Good evening. My name is Octavia Rainey. I would like to recap a little for my 2 minutes. I would like to say that I had the privilege and the honor of working with Bill Paget on the Coca Tower movement on Oberlin Road. And I would say I learned a lot from that, and it was a disaster. It didn't work. And when you go back and look at Oberlin now, you have to ask yourself, where are the Black people? I was on Chancellor Fox Neighborhood Advisory for years, and I said, you can't go near Method community. You cannot go near that because it has been erased. It cannot be erased. And I would like to say I was successful in that, but when my time rotated off, a lot of changes came to Method, and I was very disappointed. I would like to further state, when I look at Newbern Avenue, I don't see the difference in the Coca Tower movement. I don't see the difference in the Method movement. I don't see the difference in the downtown East when you wiped out all the Black businesses on a promise to bring them back. I don't see the difference in Smoky Hollow on the promises you promised to bring Smoky Hollow back. What I'm concerned about, when I look at Newbern Avenue, I see some things that I still do not like. I don't like the moving of Richard B. Harrison Library to DMV. I don't like that at all. I don't like the point that in the Black section of Newbern Avenue, they did not recognize any buildings that contributed to historical significance, and I am officially challenging that. That is a shame. It shouldn't have never, ever happened. Newbern Avenue is Black Raleigh. I am holding a press conference to move forward with naming Newbern Avenue the Clarence E. Lightner, and I will announce the other things that I am working on. And I have a lot of community support, so we're going to be moving forward.
Thank you. No, Omar Nabuski. Is Omar here? Mohammed Palestine? Is Mohammed here? Rose L.
That's me.
If you could please give your name when you come up to the podium.
Absolutely. I have a presentation.
Could you please give your name?
Can you please pause it before it plays? Doesn't sound like it's going through the speakers. Give me one moment. I just got here. We could do with some improvement on the infrastructure on 40. My name is Rose. 30,000 people.
Could you please give your first and last name, please? Thank you.
My name is Rose Littner.
Thank you.
30,000 people are dead. 10,000 of those are children. 1 in 6 that remain are starving. 2 people have now self-immolated to bring awareness to the genocide in Gaza.
Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Man's on fire! Man's on fire!
This is audio from the self-immolation of U.S. Air Force service member Aaron Bushnell. He was 26 years old, and if you had an ounce of respect in you, you'd put your phone down while listening to it. You might be uncomfortable listening to it. You should be. Fact is, Aaron Bushnell had more bravery and moral backbone in his pinky finger than this council has in its members combined. You voted against the ceasefire this man burned alive for, and then had the audacity to talk about peace. Tell me, did any of that sound like peace to you? The screaming, the death tolls I said? No wonder our city is in shambles. It's because self-immolation and genocide are peaceful to you. Your peace looks like installing metal detectors and additional security in 2022 in response to Black-led groups calling you out for the displacement of Black and Muslim communities in our city. Your peace looks like demolishing the houseless camps made by people who you drove out of their homes with gentrification after taking money from developers. Your peace looks like budgeting more money to the police so they can commit assault and murder against our city's most vulnerable. Well, the people of Raleigh don't want your peace anymore. We want liberation from this council, from its mayor. We want liberation from your facade of peace. Raleigh will be free, Palestine will be free, and we will remember this in the election.
Your time is up. Thank you. And I'm going to ask if, all right, everybody, if that's going to be the behavior tonight, we're going to end the meeting right now. I want everybody to have a chance to speak, but you have to be respectful. Three strikes and you're out. Okay. Marina Essa. Is Marina here? Jaya DeBoer. Nadia Ali.
I'm Nadia Ali, and I think in response to your vote and what some of the comments you guys said is that half the people that have been coming these past few weeks, you guys have seen before. They come for city issues, and now they're coming on how Palestine issues relate to city issues. So I know some of us are new, but then in my case, my entire family basically, my dad worked for the city of Raleigh his entire career. My sister works for the city of Raleigh with her career. So we are already intertwined with the city of Raleigh. I don't know how much more we can prove to you that we care about the city of Raleigh. So by now you should understand how Raleigh and this crisis works together. We've tried to prove it. We've tried to explain it. Clearly, and the thing that gets me is for somebody who preaches the art of listening, I feel like you're not listening. It really hurts. Then to say that you're afraid that this is going to cause a divide, there's a divide. The divide is already here because somebody has an international flag on their profile picture and hasn't removed it. Mm-hmm. That's causing a divide. If there are things that need to be revised, please. If that's all it takes to get one more person to vote on this, to get this passed, please let us sit down, review it. I will help. We have plenty of people in here, all races, all colors. It is not a religious issue, so we don't even need to look at the religions. Please pick somebody to sit down and help decide. And now, all these people that aren't here for public comment, I hope you realize how dumb it was to change that.
Thank you.
You could have made a cancellation list.
Excuse me, your time is up. Thank you.
Yeah.
Next, we have Lamia Wafa. Is Lamia here? Okay. Samira Haddad. Benny Koval.
Thank you to the four of you with spines. Council members Melton and Branch, when you voted no, you both said that our federal elected officials are working on this and that it's at their level. Clearly, they're not working on this. In 1982, 6 weeks into Israel's assault on Lebanon, then President Reagan called up Begin on the phone and was like, hey, you have to stop. And within 30 minutes, there was a ceasefire. The US empire controls Israel, and our federal government are the barking dogs of major industries like weapons manufacturing, oil, and gas. And those industries want this genocide to continue. These forces are united in this. 3 times now, the US has vetoed a UN Security Council ceasefire resolution. We're here at City Council because everything in the world, especially in the heart of this empire, has to come to a halt in service of ending a genocide. It's our responsibility. We're here because we are in the capital city of North Carolina, less than 2 hours away from the largest military terminal in the world that is undoubtedly shipping munitions to the Zionist occupation to kill kids. Councilmember Melton, I remember in 2020 when Ruby Deluxe was hit by less than lethal weapons by the RPD, and you said it was unacceptable and that you said that it's Pride Month and we should remember why it's Pride. And I think you need to remember what Pride stands for too. Miss Major, who is a veteran of the Stonewall Uprising, said Palestine has to be free and everyone has to do something to contribute towards that. The least you could have done was vote. Embarrassed to be queer and be somewhat associated with you because I feel like you're a traitor to our cause. So anyway, thank you.
I'm going to remind everybody about the rules of decorum. Speakers shall be civil and courteous in their language and presentation. Insults, profanity, use of vulgar language, or gestures or other inappropriate behavior are not allowed. Comments, questions, or jeering from the audience are not allowed. Speakers shall likewise not address or respond to members of the audience. I think you just went overboard, and next time I'm going to have to ask that you be removed. Hua Huang, I'm glad you think it's funny.
All right, 2 minutes on the clock. So, for years, City Raleigh, especially under the current leadership, has not demonstrated an ounce of humanity toward the BIPOC communities, whether that's the black communities here in the heart of Raleigh or the people in Palestine. The failure to pass the ceasefire resolution for a very long time thanks to this current council who voted no to the ceasefire resolution. But know that the people will keep fighting and the Free Palestine will happen. It just would be a shame that Raleigh is not going to be part of the nearly 100 cities and county council that have already voted in support of the ceasefire. As it stands, you're on the wrong side of history, just as you're on the wrong side of history by consistently making public comment more difficult for the people. Every time BIPOC community speaks up, I see that you've decided to cut down the poster sizes. When Wake County Housing Justice Coalition brought in signs calling you out for gentrifying Western Boulevard corridors, Western Transit Overlay District, and when you decide to install metal detectors after Refund Raleigh called you out for increased police budget instead of your sanitation staff. You still deny to this day the dignity of black and brown communities. How you voted on a Newbern Transit Overlay District was extremely confusing for many of us who were keeping an eye on this issue. And we had a meeting with the Housing Coalition, and we still don't know the extent of the impact of the TOD on the legacy residents. That was why the Planning Commission voted no. The Commission wanted the impact study to be done first to ensure maximum benefit to the black community at the Newbern corridor. I will mention that one of our members from the Housing Coalition did say to me that if you are not making it understandable to the black community, you're not making decisions that benefit the black community. And so I know why you did what you did. You voted in such a way to maintain status quo, but the impact to people of Raleigh want liberation and reparation, as Rose said. You had to start thinking differently and start voting differently, stop being afraid, and start voting for people's liberation. Thank you.
Thank you. Hanadi Ali. Dana Haddad.
I'll be taking her spot. She's after me. This is Mesa Solteri. What is going on in Gaza now, not about the hostages, and it never was. In fact, hostages who died, they died by the IOF. And this is not about even Hamas either, because the terror state of Israel came way before they did exist. This is a genocide, an ethnic cleansing. The whole world didn't witness what we're witnessing right now. There's more than 5,000 prisoners, hostages of Palestinians, 2,500 of them and more, they don't have any charges. If you really look at all the pro-Palestinians here on the streets or at protests, you're gonna look at us, everyone is different, but we're all united by humanity. But if you look at the pro-Israelis, you're gonna look at them, they're all united by hate and only hate and killing. The only way that you would be a pro-Israeli at this point is to believe that Palestinians are not human beings.
Okay. Mesa Satari. Okay. Okay, there was some out of order. If you could just give your name.
Dana Haddad.
Okay, thank you.
Can you guys hear me? Okay. My name is Dana Haddad. For the last 5 months, the people of Raleigh mobilized a multi-issue, multiracial, and multi-faith coalition to pressure the city of Raleigh to support a permanent ceasefire in Gaza. Thousands marched in the streets of Raleigh every week, and thousands more emailed and called members of Raleigh City Council. When the issue was first raised with the council in November, only 2 council members, Christina Jones and Mary Black, supported their constituents. On Tuesday, March 5th, Raleigh City Council voted against a ceasefire resolution and 4-4 vote. Amidst our pain and collective efforts, this is a win for our community. We put pressure on council members to introduce and vote on ceasefire resolution after their attempt to placate us with a statement of neutrality. Because of our organized people power, we secured 4 votes in support of the resolution instead of the 2 we had at the state of our effort. Our only loss is that we have a mayor and 3 council members pretending to advocate for peace and taking up representative seats while still refusing to publicly call for a ceasefire. Our fight for a ceasefire resolution in Raleigh is on the first step on the long-term power building work required to build a better world for our people. We know that the oppression of Palestine is intertwined with the oppression of Black and Indigenous community in the United States. At all levels, our government continues to profit off the back of communities and pass policies that repudiate hyper-surveillance, segregation, police brutality, and mass incarceration instead of investing in affordable housing, healthcare, education, and other meaningful systems of community care.
Okay, Angie Elhouni.
Angie Elhouni. I'm continuing to read from the statement that she read from. For years, the city of Raleigh, particularly under Mayor Mary Baldwin's leadership, has failed to support Black and Indigenous people and communities of color. The failure to pass the ceasefire resolution in the capital city of North Carolina is the latest in this disgraceful legacy, a badge of shame this city and the state must carry until they adopt policies grounded in justice. To our beautiful community, though this isn't the exact outcome we wanted, we still won. We built power to move elected officials and force a vote on an international issue. We translated our grief and anger into a movement that raised the bar for electing values-aligned candidates into our local government, with Palestine as no exception. To council members Mary Black, Christina Jones, Jane Harrison, and Megan Payton, we thank you for pushing this resolution forward and voting your conscience. We will remember your stance come November. To Mayor Baldwin, Councilmember Jonathan Melton, Councilmember Corey Branch, Councilmember Stormy Fort, In November, we will remember you as well. We will remember those of our representatives and council members who time and time again chose genocide, neutrality, and complicity instead of standing with justice and humanity. We won't tire, we won't rest. Raleigh constituents will continue to organize for a ceasefire, for liberation, and for justice. Free Palestine.
Okay, Shadi Aslim. Is Shadi here? Okay. Mohammed? Is Mohammed here? Okay. Reem Mohammed? Asada Shekar? Nabel Zanta? Isra El Sayed? I have to just issue a warning. This speaker has provided a video that has graphic imagers, and we have to alert our public to that.
I honestly don't know what more to say to you all. We've been coming here for months and pouring our hearts out to you all. We've shared personal stories about our own family members being killed in Gaza, and you still decided not to pass a ceasefire resolution. At this point, no ceasefire is supporting genocide. One in 6 children under the age of 2 are actually malnourished in North Gaza. Over 20 Palestinians have been killed by starvation, from malnutrition and dehydration as Israel continues to block aid. This is a kid named Bahat Nimari. He is a special needs child in North Gaza who has lost over 40 kilos due to severe starvation. And then on the other side is a 10-year-old boy named Yazen, who actually recently died last week from starvation. I'm sure some of you heard about the flour massacre that happened on February 29th, supposed to say 2024, where thousands of Palestinians went to get flour from an aid truck, and Israel opened fire at them. 118 civilians were killed by Israel, and 760 were injured. Imagine your husband going to get flour for his hungry children and never coming home. This is just a small example of what happens every day. How many more children need to be killed for you to pass a ceasefire resolution?
Okay, I've been notified that speaker 21 is here, Nabel Zanta.
Thank you. Today marks the second day of the holy month of Ramadan for Muslims all over the world and your constituents as well. As I broke my fast yesterday, I was in tears after a long day of fasting. I finally got to eat. I imagine the hardships and what the people of Gaza must be going through. Being starved by the state of Israel, they don't get to break their fast. They have been fasting for months. Children dying from the lack of nourishment, and others tying rocks and stones to their stomach to soothe their hunger. This is an old Arabic technique used during periods of famine, or now as you see. The people of Gaza are deprived of food and basic necessities, Over 30,000 innocent Palestinians are dead. Over 13,000 of those are dead children. Children. Your inability to stand with justice has serious and dire implications. Not sending a message of peace and unity against genocide to our officials shows that you are as complicit of this genocide as they are. I hope if AIPAC has given you money or any support that you can live knowing you had a hand in saving innocent lives, innocent children's lives, but you refused to. The record will show what you did and what you stood up for. In the future, when your grandchildren ask you what you did while the genocide was ongoing, we will remember. Make your legacy worth it. Make your name stand out. I stand in front of you, going on 6 months of genocide, and thank you.
Ramah Amar? Is Ramah here? Okay. Eugene Myrick?
That's not the first page. You just have one page? Okay. All right, Eugene Myrick, Southeast Raleigh resident. There was a presentation that I had. It actually started with the rezoning case that took place in Councilmember's Black District. She said she wasn't comfortable with it, but Jonathan, you jumped all over it. I realized that you at large, but the way you jumped over it, I just felt like you wouldn't have done that to Jane or Corey. You didn't give her the same respect you would have given them. Meanwhile, with my presentation, I also had another rezoning that's taking place in District C that you and the mayor say y'all also live in. It's been rejected by the Planning Commission, rejected by RHDC, rejected by a couple other folks, but y'all still kicking the can down the road. With that being said, we have another candidate who's already being endorsed by 3 other mayors. This lady is not going to be mayor again. So I want to say to the new guard, hitching your political wagon to this current leadership will derail your career. So rezoning New Bern Avenue will derail your career. For one of the first stops to be in front of St. Aug when they just lost their accreditation makes y'all look vulturistic. The body isn't even cold over there. The Black community will not forget that. I realized that the city just got your Bloomberg bucks. We call Mike Bloomberg Mayor Stop and Frisk. Look it up. Hundreds of thousands of Black people were stopped and frisked in New York City. The Muslim community was monitored under his leadership. He went from 8 years to 12 years. Then he changed it back to 8 years after he was done. Came in with $4 billion, left with $16 billion. Now it's this great, he wants to do affordable housing in the Black community. I don't believe it. We know all money ain't good money. And we don't trust Bloomberg bucks. So with that being said, I just want to say Black Voters Matter is not a slogan. We may not make up the majority of votes in this city, but we will make up the difference in who sits in those seats come November. Black Voters Matter. Remember that. Thank you.
Keisha Monk?
Yeah. You good?
Yeah, I'm not. There you go. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Keisha Monk. I'm deeply disappointed by the lack of respect shown by the City Council during your last retreat in January. There are a lot of serious issues happening in my community, and contrary to popular belief, I don't expect you all to have the answers, but I do, at the bare minimum, expect our local leadership not to mock or laugh at our pain.
We have speakers attacking members of the public who may be in the audience. I guess the
snake got caught in the person's garage.
Yeah, what was it? Yeah, something. Yeah, something like calling someone a snake or something. I don't remember.
Okay. I've decided to present some pictures, and I'll let the pictures speak for me. This is a snake that I found in my garage.
The discussion that was brought up by someone was the more of the, I guess, the
snake I caused in a person's garage.
Yeah, what was it? Yeah, something. Yeah.
Environmental justice is a serious matter that is affecting our lives and our well-being. And it seems as though some of us from a particular race or economic background simply do not matter. Raleigh is a great city. We deserve better, and we will remember in November.
Okay, Shane Collins.
Hi, I'm Shane Collins. Good evening, Council and Mayor. Tonight, I would like to speak for the well-being of our Raleigh firefighters, specifically separation allowance. Billy Joel sings about fire. We didn't start the fire, but we tried to fight it. That's what they do every day. Firefighters are fighting fires, and they need a pay differential to assist as they age. A separation allowance would be paid as a bridge between retirement and 62. For a 30-year fire employee, it would be approximately 25% of their pay, which is already earned by one branch of Raleigh emergency workers. Again, we didn't start the fire, we just tried to fight it. Ideally, the separation allowance would retain fire department talent, enhance recruitment, as Gastonia, Mebane, Kannapolis, and Washington have already experienced with their benefit. So let's be a true capital. Lead by example. Stop smaller cities stealing talent. Why ask for this benefit? Firefighting is dangerous, and longer exposure to fire smoke increases the risk of heart attack and cancer, especially as you age over 50. So separation allowance would relieve 50-plus-year-olds. It would ensure that 50-plus-year-old firefighters with aching bones and backs are not the ones doing the heavy lifting, protecting citizens. An allowance would allow the 50-plus firefighters to retire and move on, and allow younger firefighters to step in and carry the torch. I'm going to cut to the end. For firefighters, let's do this. Let's look into the cost benefits of separation allowance for Raleigh firefighters, as Raleigh already allows this benefit for some public safety employees. Like Billy Joel says, we didn't start the fire, but firefighters try daily to stop it.
Thank you. Next, we have Nicole J. Pluck. Is Nicole here? Okay. Hadil Hamoud. Rania Masri.
My name is Rania Masri. To the fabulous four, that is what we call you now, thank you. To the others, thank you as well, because clarity is something that we appreciate. And when you voted no to a ceasefire, you told us that the feelings of our oppressor matter more than our lives. That is what it means to vote no for a ceasefire. You told us that you think this is the responsibility of someone else, which means you did not act like a leader, you acted like a pathetic follower. And we will remember both the fabulous four and the disgraceful followers. A friend of mine recently came back from Gaza, and I want to read to you what she wrote. She said, and I quote, these are the words of Susan Abul Hawa. She said, and I quote, Gaza is hell. It is an inferno teeming with innocents, gasping for air, but even the air is scorched. Every breath scratches and sticks to the throat and lungs. Journalists and politicians call it war. The informed and honest call it genocide. What I see, she wrote, is a Holocaust, the incomprehensible culmination of 75 years of Israeli impunity for persistent war crimes. Genocide, she wrote, is not just mass murder, it is intentional erasure of histories, of memories, of books and culture, erasure of potential in a land, erasure of hope in and for a place. History will not lie. It will record that Israel perpetuated a Holocaust in the 21st century. We will remember those who stood with justice and those who stood with the Holocaust. Thank you.
Mark Alborno.
Thank you. My name is Mark Alborno. Well, I came here without writing anything. I mean, I think you guys all heard enough from everybody. Like I said, my name is Mark Alborno. I am the co-chair for the Abandon Biden campaign, and I know we're gonna have a lot of abandoned people on this table this coming election. I'm from Gaza, and last June, we had a family reunion. All my family, just a small family reunion, about 85 people, I think, or 90, came here from all over the world. And from my mom's side, and they were talking about my grandparents' house and where they're buried and the memories and everything great about their childhood life and what they did. I just want to let you know that the entire house has gone already. Not only that it's gone, the graves are gone either right now. We don't even know. We don't have history, like she just said. And it's like you're erasing the black history. It's the Zionist game. This is what they do, unfortunately. And we're not talking about somebody I don't know. We're talking about my own grandparents. I don't even know what happened to their graves right now. I would like just to take a couple of time and thank all the members who voted yes for the resolution. And Mary Baldwin, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna say anything, but you will have abandoned Baldwin coming November. I promise you that.
Thank you. Next, we have Jessica Navarro-Luviano. Is Jessica here? Okay, Cole McMullen.
Cole McMullen. A couple of weeks ago, I attended the community engagement meetings for the Blue Ridge MSD, and I am still opposed. Historically, MSDs, or municipal services districts, were also known as business improvement districts, and have excluded residential properties, which this MSD does. However, because apartment complexes are legally zoned commercial properties, there are a couple thousand tenants caught in the net of the Blue Ridge MSD. The additional property tax levied by this MSD likely will be passed on to the tenants when their lease is up for renewal. The purpose of an MSD is to bring new amenities, but as city staff has already explained when talking about bus rapid transit corridors, this leads to the amenity effect, in which additional amenities makes an area more desirable to live, driving up property values and the value of fair market rent. The Blue Ridge Corridor Alliance has not done any forecasting to estimate what the cost of living increase will be as a consequence of the additional amenities they plan to provide. They admitted as much during the engagement meeting. This means that there is an unknown indirect cost of this MSD that will impact not just the tenants, but the nearby homeowners as well. This MSD will drive up the cost of living in the corridor and lead to displacement of low-income residents that are barely getting by as it is. Whether or not that is intentional on the Alliance's part is irrelevant. What is relevant is that you, as a council, will vote knowing the impact that this MSD will have on low-income residents, and a vote to approve is a vote to knowingly and intentionally displace low-income tenants. In the past, city staff have stated the purpose of an MSD is to increase equitability, to make sure that all businesses that benefit from amenities are paying for them. I'm running out of time. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Leslie Kramer?
Leslie Kramer. Good evening, Council members Jane Harrison, Mary Black, Christina Jones, and Megan Patton et al. I acknowledge that our fight for a ceasefire resolution didn't quite go our way. I'm not here to beat a dead horse, but I am here to try and make you all realize what it actually means to be a politician, because I'm kind of concerned living in a city where it's clear that some of them don't know. So Jonathan and Corey, you both claimed that your reason for cowardice was that our city is divided. Tell me, when running for this position, were you under the impression that everyone in the whole world agrees about everything at all times? If not, then I assume you know that the literal job of a politician is to work through division. And if you don't know that, and you think that division over political decisions means you can never make one, then you will never make a political decision in your entire career. Additionally, you both also said that the national government is doing something about this so you don't have to, and I have to wonder, if you think of your position as so little that it can't actually cause change on a local level, why did you run? Mary Black, Christina Jones, Megan Patton, and Jane Harrison, I hope the right side of history is treating you well. Mayor Baldwin, I have nothing to say to you. Well, I do. It'll probably get me banned, except enjoy that throne of yours while it lasts, because it ain't going to be yours much longer. Free Palestine, free Sudan, free Congo, free everyone who is oppressed everywhere, and yeah, free Palestine.
Sherry Kramer?
I'm Sherry Kramer. While I applaud Mary Black for introducing the vote on Gaza ceasefire resolution and the supporting votes of some council members, it was very obvious it became an opportunity set up to fail by the mayor. Most of you admittedly did not even look at the document, yet you opted to take a vote to put it to rest for yourselves. How perfectly self-serving to stay in your comfort zones rather than do what is right for your fellow humans. So first and foremost, shame on this council. You do a disservice to our city. For those that voted against, you hide behind your fear of taking a stand, behind easy but false statements of the federal government, quote, taking action, or in the case of one council member, never speaking at all. Exactly how did the federal government take action? Through a food drop that has killed people and offered expired food to Palestinians? Through a pier that will take 2 months to build, through throwing good money after bad by continuing to fund genocide and Biden not insisting on a ceasefire, through the U.S. not supporting UN resolutions for a ceasefire? I'm confused. How exactly has the federal level taken action? Aren't people in Palestine still being fired on, starving and dying? But excuse me, how exactly has the federal level taken action? Like, whether the federal government takes any meaningful action, which it hasn't, that doesn't change the commitment from our local governments and how important that is. You've let us down. Those of you who did not vote in favor, don't smile too broadly, because you voted in fear of your constituents and in fear of your mayor. You have nothing to be proud of. I'm so proud of the Durham City Council that they could do the right thing. At least we know there are some good intention elected bodies in our area. Ask this for yourselves. How many more have died since you didn't pass a resolution? It's on your conscience. Free the innocents.
Amira Clark? Is Amira here? No, she's not coming. Amanda Gazave?
Amanda Gazov. I had a whole thing prepared, left off where I was rudely and wrongfully cut off last time from my presentation being censored, but after watching this, I've just completely dropped it. We want to talk about respecting and how we conduct ourselves in here when there isn't even enough respect or regard for people's names, when we've had the same people coming here week after week. Omar Nabuski, I don't see a K in there. Lamia, there wasn't an I or a Y. You want respect from your people of Raleigh? Maybe you should try the basic names, just to start. Furthermore, you want to know, or we have 4 people that were saying that Palestine is not connected to Raleigh, and Israel getting money is not connected to anything here. So you could vote for a ceasefire, which would also keep money here. We wouldn't be sending billions and billions to Israel. You know, there's people in Israel that are diabetic that have free healthcare, their medicine is covered, and I am diabetic with insurance, and I still can't afford my $900 diabetic money per month. If you don't care about the dead children, don't pretend to care about the people in Raleigh, because any of us could drop dead from things like that any day, and you wouldn't care because you're voting to send money over to Israel to kill children. Is that your Islamophobia? Is that your racism? What is it? Because you don't care about the people here. So don't act like you're keeping the money here for the citizens of Raleigh. You do not care about the citizens of Raleigh, or else you would have sided with the 4 who have a backbone, who have humanity, and you would have called for a ceasefire, because children of any color, any race, deserve to live. Whether it's here in Raleigh, whether they need their medicine that they're not getting because we're sending billions of dollars over to Israel, or whether it's the children in Gaza who are being bombed because of the money that we're sending to Israel. A ceasefire, whether it's putting money back in our pockets and our health care, or whether it's keeping children from being bombed and killed, a ceasefire should be called. Free Palestine.
Brian McGinnis.
Brian McGinnis. Hi, I'm a firefighter for the city of Raleigh. Separation pay would be great. Please do that. But Gaza is, it's so sad, don't you know? And just want to talk to you and say, man, the smug rejection of the cries of the Palestinians is just so abhorrent and horrible to witness. You know, I feel like this is your job to sit here and listen to us attentively, and yeah, it doesn't get done all the time. I know it's a long day, but we're very heartbroken. My wife's Palestinian. My 4 children are Palestinian, and if Palestinians aren't safe in Palestine, my children aren't safe here. Our government, our country, Israel is an extension of our government, in my opinion. And there's just no justice. Nothing's happening. We're so frustrated with the lack of action, with stopping the killing, and it's just happening at an alarming rate. I'd hope you'd agree. And we're just banging our heads against the wall, trying to make sense of the world, and it's so hard, it's so dire, and we're really losing our minds, and it's just carrying more and more momentum. It's given to a fever pitch. It's going to boil over. Please just give some type of reconciliation, a speech, speak well. Our awesome city manager does a great job of doing some online interviews, and I love that because she got some flack from the fire department, making some decisions. That's the job. She gets that. She's strong enough. But she wants that extra effort just to share some of herself, make herself more of a person. That's a good thing for any of you to do. Just make yourself a person, and don't just stand behind your podium and make judgments and votes. Explain why you voted. We're hurting, man. And Israeli people who have suffered some losses, I'm sorry for you too. This whole thing's horrible. Please have a heart.
Thank you. Lawrence Yaley.
Good evening, Larry Yaley. Change of subject. Compliments that the budget process started earlier, but January retreat and February sessions indicate it's primarily the same, only spending priorities, no interest in savings ideas. With all the talk about community engagement, no interest in my repeated suggestions for a workshop with experienced business managers, despite the city's lack of best practices. The February session lacked vigorous challenge, a 5% employee increase without benchmarking, without question. Balancing the budget with increased taxes is not fiscal responsibility, nor are 10% increases to the city manager's salary, now at $356,000. The city's 15% staffing shortfall should also beg the question what basic service work isn't done without 600 FTEs. Only RPD's short staffing, largely due to salaries and lack of support, is evident with the increased crime and subcontractors. Chart, please. City demographic charts show a 10% population growth over 10 years, but note the staffing history. In green is incremental staffing for essential services. In red is very significantly higher overhead growth. Examples include 29 in communications, 6 in engagement, 15 in DEI, their website showing no accomplished or no future work plan for a $2 million budget. At least 5 departments with 6 or fewer employees, managers with assistant managers, directors with assistant directors, 39 positions added in 2023, 32 more FTEs this year, including 5 new managers. Yes, focus on city employee compensation and staffing, but there's little evidence for the taxpayer. At retreat, you saw a revenue neutral calculation with the new county assessments forecasting a 10% property tax increase. The council needs to conduct robust reviews of the city manager's wish list and also issue a challenged option that funds a prioritized spending plan without property tax increase.
Thank you.
That is balance and financial fiscal responsibility.
Diala Hamad. Is Diala here?
I don't know what to say anymore. I think you've heard everything there is to say. But I can tell you that when I was in the 5th grade, a Holocaust survivor came to my classroom. And I remember sitting on the floor in the library and listening to her speak. Her hair was white, her face was like weathered stone and had sorrow and grief embedded. And she looked into our eyes and she told us how she lost her entire family, how she lost everything, and how she was the victim to so much hatred that she would never feel joy or happiness again. And this is because of the dehumanization that was running rampant through the nation, through bigotry. And I'll never forget that she told me that her biggest pet peeve is when people say that this is her story, like a fictional novel, instead of reality that she lived through. And I never thought I would understand that until today. And in that moment, I wondered how anybody could possibly deny her reality. And I vowed that if I ever saw something like this, that I would stand up against it. And I bet when you learned about genocide in school, you also thought, I would stand against that. I would have the courage to speak up. But what changed for you? Were you even aware that Palestinians have been subjugated to an unrelenting and dehumanizing, brutal, illegal military occupation for generations and have been calling for freedom this entire time?
Thank you.
There's
Time's
nothing
up.
neutral
Excuse
about
me.
not
Please,
voting on a ceasefire.
I'm going to have to ask you to be escorted out if you continue. Karen McCone.
Okay, good evening, Council. I'm here to talk about not Gaza and not Palestine, but to talk about the litter and trash situation in the city of Raleigh and just how appalling it really is. And to say that since I've lived here from the last 4 years, I've seen the trash and the litter situation just get worse and worse and worse on our interstates, on our streets, everywhere, in our parks. It just piles and piles of litter. I live in Southwest Raleigh, and every week, at least 2 or 3 times a week, I'm out on the street with garbage bags picking up litter, which obviously is harmful to human health, to the soil, to the environment, to animals, not to mention how it degrades our city and makes it a less pleasant place to live in. And yet I've seen that absolutely nothing has been done. And so I'm urging the council to launch some kind of public awareness campaign to get people engaged, to do something about the litter. Put signs on our buses, okay? Teach it in school about the harmful effects of littering on our community and how it makes it so unpleasant for people to live here. And as I said, I'm very concerned that I don't see people just don't seem to care. I think that's the really saddest part. I see on the street, there's so much litter. It's everything from diapers to car parts, to people's fast food bags. And all it would take is a public awareness campaign, I think, to make a change for the better.
Thank you. Josh Bradley.
Joshua Bradley, 1324 Spring Lawn Court. Mayor and councilors, first I would like to read the statement from my campaign collective. The Raleigh City Council failed to pass a resolution to call for a ceasefire in Gaza last week. We are disappointed that Mayor Baldwin and council members Melton, Fort, and Branch have stood on the side of oppression and genocide here and abroad. They claim that their priorities lie in local issues, but these four have been derelict in their responsibilities to the people in Raleigh as well. Doing nothing in a time of grave injustice and unspeakable violence is a silent endorsement of the actions of the oppressor. We would like to thank Councilors Black, Jones, Patton, and Harrison for their support of a resolution. In this time of mass displacement and inconceivable brutality, from gentrification to genocide, all our struggles are connected. We must stand on the side of the workers, the poor, the oppressed, regardless of political expediency. No matter the cost, we must stand on the side of the people, even if that puts us at odds with the political establishment. Surely the mayor and half the council really can't glory in or morally justify the deaths of over 30,000 people, including over 13,000 children. Surely all of you who oppose this resolution are not inhuman monsters that sleep at night knowing the human cost, right? It takes integrity to stand up for justice. Praying for peace doesn't do any good if your country and everyone in it are paying for the bombs that are murdering children in large numbers, whether we want them to or not. Also, y'all apparently passed a large part of the New Bern TOD unanimously. Y'all must be needing some of that sweet, sweet developer money, considering the gift you gave them. Wake Up in the Woods, Wake County must be very pleased. With the decimation of naturally occurring affordable housing and slow progress on creating new low-cost housing, when you say that we need to focus on local issues like homelessness, you must mean that you want to create more. Please raise your hands if you visited any of the encampments in the last month.
Thank you. C. Underwood. Is our next speaker here? Okay. Chris Crew.
Good evening, Chris Crew, 306 Elm Street, here to bang the drum of preservation again. Thank you for your recent support for preservation, particularly your votes regarding Z9222. You made some thoughtful modifications to that program that will protect neighborhoods and historic districts. There's still a long way to go on that. There are all sorts of other issues that this project brings up. Flooding is one of them you've heard about. Let's talk about that. The Society for the Preservation of Historic Oakwood, in partnership with Preservation Raleigh, Preservation NC, the Raleigh Historic Development Commission, and a couple of other groups are working out a plan to try to preserve Elmwood and the Hubert Royster House and a couple of other notable historic structures that are threatened by zoning changes before you. The key to the plan that we're coming up with is influencing the state properties office to sell off the vacant parking lots on the 400 block of Blunt Street for preservation purposes. This is founded in law. They can do that without a public bid process, just like the city can do that for preservation purposes. So while the threat is most present in Mr. Branch and Ms. Harrison's district, preservation of our historic treasures, including our historic African-American neighborhoods and institutions, should be of interest to all of you. This is what makes Raleigh what it is. Please watch your emails for further information and details on this. We need your help to move the state property office before it's too late and we lose these buildings. I also look forward to seeing every one of you in the St. Patrick's Parade on Saturday. It's going to be a short one, but I hope you will come and see what it means to the people. Thank you.
Thank you. I've just been notified that Speaker 31 is here, Mark Alborno. Is Mark here? I have the wrong number on here. Could staff please state the name of the person who's here? Jessica. Could you give your name, Jessica, so I can?
Navarro Luviano.
Okay, thank you.
The government told me I can marry anyone, but only after 2015 can I marry a woman in any state. The government told me I have control of my body, but only if I live in the right state. The government said that they will protect me, but not always at my school. The government wants me to get a job, but leaves my family at the border. The government protects the people, but only if I stop questioning where those bombs are landing and why my tax dollars are funding a genocide. These are the limits of this government, the same ones you compare yourselves to. The government is an entity of power and surveillance that has no morals, yet we think they're the best at setting the moral standard. Not the humans who have moral compasses and who have constantly had to demand this government change its laws for justice, equality, and the right to life. We came to you for 5 months for you to amplify our voices and tell this government whose support of a colonial project has led to the murder of 13,000 children. It's not okay. And you had every chance to write something that you could all agree on if you really cared about human life, but instead a path of cowardliness was chosen. Tell me, why do we have representatives if not to represent their communities? Your empathy has been destroyed, and I saw it in that vote, and I saw it for the past 5 months as you looked into the suffering of our community, of this community that filled this room and felt nothing. But if you saw and understood truly how the pain of Palestinians is your pain too, and felt it, you would fall to your knees and weep. There is something deeply wrong with our civilization when stopping ethnic cleansing and mass starvation are not seen as a moral obligation of every person on this planet. You said no to a ceasefire. Have you no shame? The murderer is dangerous, but more dangerous are the people who hold political office and turn away from the calls of justice. You may have failed us, but we will not stop. We will not carry this on as if it never happened. We will not forget. I refuse to normalize this level of suffering. We fight because there are decades of a fire burning in our chest called liberation.
Thank you. Sarah Quadri.
Good evening, Sarah Quadri, Raleigh resident. We come to you on the second day of Ramadan for some and some on the first. And sadly, in Gaza, they are fasting because they're forced to fast with forced starvation. And there have been children that have died based on forced starvation. And the similarity between what happened in the Holocaust, how we got there, and to now, it's mind-boggling how no one else can see it. If my 4 or 5-year-olds understand this, I don't understand why everyone on this panel did not understand this. I want to thank Councilwoman Mary Black, Christina, Jane, and Megan for their support and for standing on the right side. And I don't know if anyone knows this, but there are academy classes you can take. I don't know much about city government, but I'm trying to learn, and I'm going to start that class. I urge everyone to join the next cycle, because come November, there will be seats that we need people to cover, and we need to learn our government. And when you're saying this doesn't affect us, IDF trained our police officers. That mentality is ingrained in them. I read a report that an IDF soldier said he shot at a girl 15 times and he didn't care. That's the mentality that's being taught and that's perpetuated on us. And I have a short time. I just want to go over a couple of more things. It's bittersweet walking towards Shaw University, seeing this history washed out there. And I did not forget that happened last Ramadan. And I wore flip-flops today in solidarity for all the Palestinian men that are dehumanized and that are not talked about. They stand there in the rubble trying to get food, and they were shot and killed for the Flower Massacre. Ceasefire now.
Justin Jenkins.
How's everybody doing today? My name is Justin Jenkins, and I'm here just to talk about something that happened at the Atlantic Avenue project that you all have, and some things I have solutions for everything. What I wanted to talk about the Atlantic Avenue project was we received a letter for them to cut off the water the 7th and the 9th of March, but they cut it off on the 2nd. I'm just making a suggestion that if they're going to work around water pipes and stuff like that, that we have like a water truck or something like that to come around just in case something like that happens, where we have to wait for them in an unexpected situation. The other thing I want to talk about is I have solutions for everything. All the problems that we have in this country, and especially all these weather disasters that we have. I have solutions for all of them except for one. You know what I'm saying? I didn't put together how we could control the earthquakes yet. But I just need somewhere to discuss my suggestions.
Okay, City Manager, can we have staff follow up? Okay, someone will follow up with you from our staff.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Jenkins. Andrea Fennell? Is Andrea here? Okay. Fatima Khatib?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm Fatima Khatib, a proud Palestinian American and a lifelong resident of Raleigh. I am one of the many people here in this building that is furious that it has been about half a year since the genocide in Gaza has been happening. I am just as infuriated that it has taken that long for City Council to pass a ceasefire resolution. Not only is this a slap in the face to me and my fellow Palestinians, but also to our allies and just about every other person in here that has shown up time and time again to demand the end of slaughtering of innocent civilians with our tax money. I thank Council members Mary, Christina, Jane, and Megan for voting on pushing the resolution forward. I condemn Mayor Baldwin, Council members Jonathan, Corey, and Stormy, who have remained neutral in a time where the death toll of civilians has realistically reached at least 40,000. Let's not be conservative with the numbers. I cannot believe I have to say this, but the people who have been killed are not numbers. Each and every one of them was someone's everything who had dreams just like all of us. We cannot help fund an over 75-year-long campaign to annihilate an indigenous population off of their homeland because they're seen as an inconvenience to get the natural resources that belong to them. Also, about the recent news of the temporary port, I would just like to say, and please excuse my language, but what the hell is that? The port doesn't need to be built to deliver aid when there is a large number of aid trucks untouched outside the borders. I call on the City Council to do the bare minimum of what they are able to do and that is to pass a ceasefire resolution that demands the release of all hostages, including the Palestinian ones, not just in Gaza, but the ones in the West Bank too.
Thank you. Kim Holmes? Is Kim here? Okay. Lamia King?
Hi, my name is Lamia King, and I serve on the Environmental Advisory Board. Thank you, council members, for your service. I am here today because in December, I lost 10 members of my family. And just as those wounds were still fresh, on February 9th, I found out that I lost 5 more. My family members were cousins, their husbands, wives, children, and grandchildren. They had plans of getting married and going to college. 2 of them were 3- and 5-year-old girls. I know you may feel like it is not City Council's place to weigh in on foreign affairs, but this issue is different because our tax dollars are funding this war. You may also feel like a ceasefire resolution will divide this community, but it doesn't have to. A resolution can call for an end to the senseless killing and suffering that is happening each day. And it can establish the grounds that there is no place for hatred, whether it is directed to our Jewish or Palestinian communities. I am asking you, City Council, to send the message to our state and federal governments that we are not complicit. We do not stand by and watch the killing of innocent people on our own dime. I'm asking you to consider a resolution that represents what most of us here want, an end to brutality and peace and safety for all people. Consider a resolution that represents our city as one that is rooted in the American values that all people are created equal and deserve life and freedom. Thank you.
Thank you. Nicole Williams.
Nicole Williams. Good evening, everyone. As many of you may know, the drop-in shelter off of Harrington Road will be closing down on March 31st. As a participant, I can tell you that it has been one heck of a ride. And though I'm grateful that many of us were able to escape the cold, there is still work to be done. What I observed is that many of the participants who are utilizing this program, as opposed to a transitional shelter, have mental disabilities. If this were your friend or a relative that suffered from a mental disability, would it be acceptable to see them out on the street? No, I think not. Let us not continue to watch those who lack mental health treatment suffer additional tribulations because of their inability to provide for themselves. My first ask would be to reopen the facilities that they truly need to utilize that were shut down out of illogic that they would be able to better thrive out on the street. We can at least, and if we can't give them that, then we need to at least provide them with shelter, a safe place to be, somewhere that people provide for their pets. And please stop comparing Raleigh to other cities because it's not about how much they're doing, it's about what we can do. And so I appreciate the fact that it was provided, but so I'm asking tonight that if there are any funds or any ways that we can put together resources to extend the drop-in shelter or to make sure that these people get some type of housing and not just put back on the street as of April, that would be very considerate because I just feel like these really are the people who should be in the mental health facilities that are out here for the most part. And I consider them an extended part of my family as I'm on house too.
Thank you.
Thank
Nicole, have you been to Wake County to speak to the Board of Commissioners?
I have.
Okay, they're responsible for the day shelter and shelters. So I would ask that you continue to keep in touch with them as we do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anna or Dobby? Is Anna here? Okay. Haley Kinsler? Haley? Okay. Swinali Samgupta. No.
My name is Sharnali Sengupta. Y'all should know me by now. I'm a consultant in pharma. I have a PhD in engineering and a BS in applied math and statistics. So it's safe to say I'm good at numbers. Since none of these testimonials is enough to convince y'all, so let's talk some numbers. And I hope that we can agree that City Council should reflect the sentiments of its constituents. So let's take a look at the numbers from the NC State Board of Elections. 52% of Wake County voted on the Democratic ballot, where 12.7% were no preference voters. 47% voted Republican. According to a study, when voters were asked, do you support or oppose the U.S. calling for a permanent ceasefire and de-escalation in Gaza, 77% of Democrats and 56% of Republicans said they support it. So let's highlight the 77% and 56% in your voters. We know that 13,499 no preference votes all were calling for a permanent ceasefire. So do the math. That is 68.5% of Wake County voters wanting a permanent ceasefire in Gaza. So you can see that the 4-4 vote in this council does not represent our voices in Raleigh. 5-3 in favor of ceasefire resolution does. So one of the 4 who voted against needs to flip. Let's look at who's running for mayor in November. We know, Marianne Baldwin, that you're never going to flip because you openly support Israeli terrorists on your social media profile. But Councilmember Branch, find the language that will allow you to pass the ceasefire resolution. Only a handful of people campaigned for the no preference votes in only 2 days. Look what we did. Imagine what all of us can do for the next 8 months reminding your voters.
Thank you. Adil Qurais.
Hello, my name is Hadil Khres, and I'm here once again to convince you that did not vote for a ceasefire to vote for a ceasefire resolution. What more can we say and do? We're calling for a permanent ceasefire to save innocent lives. How can you claim to want peace, but yet you put your own personal agenda ahead of million innocent civilians? And they are innocent. They're not Hamas fighters. This is not a war against Hamas. This is intentional genocide and ethnic cleansing of the Palestinian people. Babies, children, moms, dads. You're supposed to be the voice of the people, and the people are telling you to stop. Stop the killing, stop the destruction of Gaza, stop the genocide, and stop the intentional starvation. News may call it famine, but it's not. It's the intentional starvation and withholding food from millions of people that you are supporting by rejecting the ceasefire resolution. You claim this is a federal national issue, but yet Raleigh sent $146 million to Israel in 2022. How dare you sit here and claim that this is an international affair? As others have also said, millions and billions of dollars are sent every year to Israel. If we stop sending millions of dollars a year to Israel from Raleigh to kill innocent people, then we would have enough money to help our own people and citizens here, help provide free healthcare, a better educational system, and reduce homelessness. You do have the power to stop this, but you, the 4 that voted no, are cowards and are worried about your careers than the lives of millions of innocent people. I can sit here and stand and talk about the details of the genocide, the numbers, and how my family has been displaced and are sleeping on floors and tents and muddy water and eating animal feed just to survive. Free Palestine.
Thank you. Adam Zager. Is Adam here? Okay, Asma.
Hello, Council. My name is Asma Abu Dahab. I'm a therapist and a social worker. I wish I could spend this second day of Ramadan with my family as they're breaking their fast right now, but I had to come here and beg for my humanity and that of my people. Never again, they say. The Holocaust, with its unspeakable horrors and the systemic genocide of millions of Jews, stands as a stark reminder of the consequences of silence and indifference. It is crucial to recognize the importance of courage in confronting atrocities as they unfold. During the Holocaust, the world witnessed the unimaginable suffering of innocent lives. However, it is a historical fact that many were aware of the atrocities but chose to remain silent, like 4 of you chose. Courage is calling out injustice in real time, not years later when the dust of history has settled. It's about standing up against hatred, discrimination, and brutality when it matters most. Courage is right now, not later in a museum. We must understand that the call of never again extends far beyond any specific group. Never again is a commitment for all of humanity to actively prevent the recurrence of such atrocities, irrespective of the targeted and targeting group. In December, I called a Jewish family member of mine, who is over 90 years old, to check on her, since she did not check on me since the genocide started. She was consumed with shame that her identity was weaponized to repeat what humanity promised will never happen again. Mary, Christina, Megan, and Jane, thank you for being connected to your humanity and seeing ours. The other 4 members, shame on you. Free Palestine.
Mubin Quadri.
Bismillah. Before I get into my talk, please pause my time. Just this morning, a Palestinian brother of mine who I went to school with, Yusuf Hanbali, passed away in his room at UNC Charlotte. He has been having episodes of genocide the last couple of weeks. I ask you all to keep him in his prayers. In your prayers, it was his final semester at UNCC. Hello, City Council members. In the past 5 months, I've seen babies with their faces chemically peeled, babies with bones sticking out of their lifeless bodies, babies dismembered in half. You have power, which I do not. But as the saying goes, with great power comes great responsibility. I encourage you, City Council, to re-vote for a ceasefire resolution with majority decision as the determining factor, similar to that of Durham City Council. It is not only what so many of your Raleigh residents have been asking for, but as a father, you should want this, as a mother, you should want this, as a God-fearing person, you should want this, and you can make this happen. Please know that Israeli forces have been bullying, persecuting, and abusing Palestinians well before October 7th, dating all the way back to the first Nakba of 1948. For just one of many examples, it is reported. Please note the date. On July 10th, 2023, Israel kidnaps Palestinian children routinely, tortures them, abuses them, sexually abuses them. These are children, mind you. Returns them traumatized, broken, and violated. This is routine and has been for decades. I will add my concerns for both Palestinian Muslims and Palestinian Christians, who are both victims of Israel's ongoing genocide. For those of you who believe this is solely a federal issue, I would like to remind you the words of the late, great Dr. Martin Luther King. An injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere, and that is regardless of race, religion, or creed. I sincerely thank our Jewish allies who call out this genocide for what it is. It's a shame the Holocaust survivors themselves are the ones fighting for us, but still some of you are so blind. I personally met Marion Ingram, an 88-year-old Jewish activist and Holocaust survivor who expressed deep concern about the situation in Gaza, drawing parallels between her childhood memories and the current attacks on Palestinians. And you can see I'm standing with her here. Her sign here reads, sorry, give me a second. Survivor says, peace, not war, in our names. I have a gift from her.
Erica Arif.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, my original plan was to say some things to make you laugh, but something, I don't know what I'm going to say now, but something just happened a few minutes ago that literally shook me to the core, and I'm still shaking and upset. I'm old, I have a handful of family because of Holocaust and pogroms, and a young woman just spoke about the Holocaust from a Palestinian point of view, and her sincerity and her warmth and her wisdom was so amazing. And because she went one word over the time limit, she was like, hate was thrown at her, and that's so much what Zionists do. Please don't do that. This is what Zionism is. It's hate because you're trying to have a Palestine. And I'm just like, anyway, I'm upset. So for Stormy Corey, I sent something about, Emily didn't say you got it yet, from the a minister from South Africa explaining why South Africa is bringing charges against Israel. I'll send it again and ask Emily to make sure you get it. It's in a speech, it's very important. She talks about how Palestine supported South Africans when they were fighting against apartheid. And I'm going to continue. I don't care if you don't vote. I know it's a learning curve. Hopefully you understand the importance of critical race theory. This is the same thing. People have to learn. People are not taught. The propaganda is set a certain way for the people that have the power. And to really understand, some of it is their lives. Some of us have taken years studying day and night. And I understand the learning curve. And I want you, whether you vote or not, I want you to know, I want you to be able to talk to people and educate people in the future. So I'm going to continue to send you information, and I hope you read it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I did not have Jim Rice on my list. Do you have confirmation? Okay, Jim Rice.
My name is Jim Rice. I want to thank Council Members Jones, Black, Patton, and Harrison for voting in favor of the ceasefire resolution. The rest of my comments are directed to Council Members Branch, Fort, Melton, and Mayor Baldwin. Mayor, you complained there wasn't enough time to read the resolution to make suggestions. 4 months wasn't enough? You could have voted against considering it last week and put it on the agenda for a later meeting. Did you not want to vote on it at a meeting with public comment? Maybe now the four of you can tell us which parts of the resolution you found so objectionable. Was it the sustained bilateral ceasefire that would end the killing of innocent civilians? Maybe you opposed expediting humanitarian aid to the people starving in Gaza. Or do you not want the release of all hostages in Gaza? You know that would require a ceasefire, right? Maybe the stumbling block was calling for an end to U.S. military aid to the Netanyahu government. Do you know it is against the U.S. law to export weapons to countries engaged in human rights violations? Our government is doing it anyway. Corey Branch, you said our federal government has already pushed forward and is requesting a ceasefire. Our government's providing the weapons Israel is using to slaughter thousands of innocent people. All of you defer to our federal government to handle it. Our government is blocking funding to the only humanitarian organization that can effectively distribute aid in Gaza. That's why we have to demand a ceasefire from our own government. We asked you to amplify our voices, and you said no. Why? It wouldn't cost the city a thing. What would it cost you? Some campaign contributions? Your complicity is now on the public record.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm running a little bit late, but I was on the schedule to speak.
What's your name?
Dania DeVore.
Me check on that. Do you have? Number 7? Okay.
Two minutes. What am I to do with all this time? Allow me to point out that you are supporting Israel solely for the reason that they look like you. Light hair, light eyes. We all know that the only people who successfully get to cry victim are people who look like that. Keep in mind that Israel is in the Middle East, where the population of surrounding countries look like me and a majority of the people in this room. Kind of makes you wonder, right? How did those people get there? The same way you all got here, slaughtering natives, stealing land, and claiming it as your own. And one day, we will receive the same pitiful reparations and apologies that were given to the Native Americans, African Americans, Vietnamese, Holocaust victims, and the list goes on and on and on and on because we continue to repeat history instead of learning from it. Do you mind? Thank you. I don't want apologies. I want preventative measures and empathy at the very least, but even that seems too much to ask for. Ceasefire now.
Thank you. That is the end of public comment. Thank you, everybody, for coming out tonight. With that, we are adjourned. Thank you.